Hello my friends, Paul here in the RoJoBe Music Workshop, and welcome to my next mini project, which is rebuilding the headstock, or peg box if you prefer, of my Japanese Sanshin. So the backstory is I was making a video all about my banjolales, how I rebuilt them, and the Japanese Sanshin and shamisen, and built some more banjolales as well. And as I was recording that video, I managed to knock my Sanshin over, and it fell onto the floor, and basically the headstock or peg box exploded. There's a few of the bits and pieces from it. It literally shattered. Here it is, and as you can see, I've already made a start on it. So the first thing I did was I sanded the whole headstock down because the whole thing is oiled. So I sanded it all down with quite coarse sandpaper at first to remove all of the oil, so it was easier to work with. And as you can see, I even sanded the laser engraved logo off the front of the headstock. And the reason I did that is because, well, let me explain first of all. So, like I said, you can see I've already started to do the repair. Now, the original piece at the side, it's not focusing for some reason, is this piece here. And you can see that, between the holes, it's all broken out where the whole thing exploded. So what I did was I temporarily glued this piece back in. So I glued, one side, to give me a basis to start rebuilding the other side. So I don't know how well you can see this, but the why is that not focusing? The joint that I did, top and bottom, basically just a butt joint. Just a piece. So I should explain. I have done this repair before because I had this issue with the original, because it was all one piece, and this happened when I reamed the holes out bigger for the bigger tuning pegs, and I had this issue going on. And it happened both sides, so I had to cut the pieces out and replace them. So this is how I did it. I did it one side at a time, cut a piece out, or cut this section out, and then made a new piece to go in. But I made the mistake really of gluing them back in as a butt joint, just a flat joint all the way across, which was the quickest and simplest way of doing it. Unfortunately, also the weakest. That was why it disintegrated so easily when it fell over. And also, I think the wood I've used, I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been from a headstock blank, so it should be like maple or spruce or something like that. Should be fairly strong, but it wasn't. So what I did was I temporarily glued this side back together so that the opposite side was open, and then I made another piece to go in the other side. So as I said, the original repair I did was with butt joints, which is quick, simple, but weak. But what I've done this time is, you can probably see that this new piece I've put in is wider or thicker than this side. And where you can see you've got the contour here, particularly at the bottom, that's not there this side. So what I've done is I've overlapped it. I've made it wider this way so that this edge piece here overlaps the side here. It sort of goes up the curve. And you can't see the bottom one, but if I turn it round you can see it. So the same thing there, I've kind of overlapped the edge of it so that it goes onto this piece on the outside, a much stronger joint. And You can probably also see that there's patches of filler all the way around it where there were low spots, and particularly where I had these the joints here, it was a little bit not pretty, so I had to fill it. And that's another reason why I've hand sanded the whole headstock, because obviously I'm not going to be able to leave it like this, you know. You either see the joins here or you see the filler. That's going to be no good. So I am going to veneer the whole headstock. I've got two different types of veneer. One is slightly lighter in colour, so I'll be using that on this one, because I don't want it to be too much of a contrast, the headstock, from the neck and the body. And that veneer, once I've put it on, I can also sand it, and the colour will lighten even more. So that's what I'm going to do. Once I've finished doing the repair on this, I'm going to veneer the entire headstock, the front, the back and the sides. I'm not going to do inside, because A, that's going to be near impossible, but also I don't really need to. Now, so that's what I'm going to do. Once I've done the repair, I'm going to veneer the whole headstock, or peg box really. The downside of that is, because of the shape of this, I'm going to keep calling it a headstock, because of the shape of it, you know, all the curves and contours, it's going to be pretty tricky to veneer it, to be honest. It's going to be, you know, quite difficult to do, but still doable. So that's what I'm going to be doing. This time I'm going to be overlapping the edges, much stronger joint like that. Now, unfortunately, it does this contour in the bottom part here. We've still got it at the top, but it's going to disappear at the bottom. Not ideal, because that, you know, that should be the shape of it. But, you know, I've got to make this strong, and, you know, once it's covered in veneer, it will look fine. It will look absolutely fine. So, you know, I've basically half done this job already, and I did it off camera because I wanted to, you know, make sure I knew what I was doing and knew how I was going to do it. And also, believe it or not, it's been quite a long time. It's been several hours doing this piece. But what I'm going to do now is obviously show you how I did it by doing the other side. So yeah, as I said, it's been a few hours doing this, because, you know, getting it to fit properly is quite time consuming, and then, you know, I've had to shape it and sand it and everything, and fill in all low spots with the filler, you know, so that it's nice and smooth. So that's what I'm going to be doing today, and possibly tomorrow and the next day. Actually, before I start, I want to say, obviously, you know, all my recordings now are on my new camera, the Sony ZV-E10 digital camera, and it's a massive improvement over my previous cameras. I do have one or two, I can say, issues with this camera. One thing which I could do with the old ones, but I can't do with this, is pause the recording. You know, while I'm recording, I can't pause it, you know, to sort of reset things up and then start again. The other cameras I could. However, I didn't use that feature all that often, because I found that once I restarted the video, you know, unpaused it if you like, and I didn't obviously notice it until I watched the video back, but once I unpause the video and continue, the sound and the video and the audio are out of sync. The audio is like half a second behind, which doesn't sound a lot, but it's quite, you know, if you're watching me talking and hearing my voice, is kind of irritating actually. So I very rarely use that feature. In fact, I stopped using it after a few times doing that, realizing that, you know, it puts the audio and the video out of sync. I thought, I can't use that. That's no good. But this camera doesn't have that feature. I cannot pause it while recording. it's not the end of the world, because as I said, I wasn't using it before, so it would be useful, but it's not essential. Now the other thing, the way I've got the camera set up right now, I've got it on the tripod. The battery is a little bit low, so I've got a power bank plugged into the camera to keep it charging, and I've also got my microphone plugged in, and the what do you call them? The points where you plug the leads in, you know, the charge lead and the microphone lead, they're on the same side as where the LED screen hinges out. So I'm looking at the screen right now with two cables in front of it. So that to me is a little bit of a design fault. I think they should have put the plugs on the other side of the camera. But there it is. It's not the end of the world, and you know, I can live with it. But just a little bit of a design feature, a design fault, in my opinion, having the sockets for the leads on the same side as where the screen hinges out. So, like I said, I'm looking at the screen right now with two cables in front of it, and it's a little bit irritating. But like I said, I can live with it. Right, okay, so enough of this waffling. Let's just get the camera set up where you can see what I'm doing. So this is a slightly different angle to what I used to do with the previous cameras, because I had those on a small tripod on the bench. Well, this tripod I've got on the floor next to me, and let me just move that microphone out of the way. Does that work? Not really. So it means that I can sort of have the camera angle from more or less behind me, which it is now. So I'm going to be working here. The camera is kind of just off to the right of my shoulder and slightly behind as well. And in fact, I will kind of move it back a little bit further. So, you know, you're basically going to be seeing it more or less the same way I do. Whereas before the camera angle was from the side, so you were looking down from the side and I was looking this way. So you weren't really seeing what I was seeing. So setting it up this way, you kind of see it a little bit better from the operator's point of view, i.e. me, and what I'm doing. So let me just zoom in a little bit and see where we are for positioning. I think that's probably okay. So what I need to do now, so, you know, like I said, I temporarily glued this side back up so that it was, you know, basically this part, so that I could fit this piece in, so that it was kind of in position of where it needs to be. Because doing it, you know, cutting the whole thing off and then having to start again, it would be really difficult to line everything up. So this way, it kept everything in alignment where it should be. And now what I need to do is just clear myself a little space. So what I need to do now is literally cut this section out so that I can start putting the new one in. Let me just put the camera down a touch. Okay. So yeah, so what I need to do now is literally cut this section out and zoom in just a touch more. Oh dear. So I've already kind of marked where I'm going to be cutting, because this one wasn't quite straight before, so I've drawn a line across there, and this one I'm literally going to be cutting straight across the joint there. Actually, this is a little bit awkward for me doing it this way, because you know, this way I would do right-handed, but I'm not right-handed, so I'm going to need to just angle that way a bit. You can still see what I'm doing. So I'm going to do the top cut first, and as I said, the original cut wasn't very straight, so I've drawn a straight pencil line and I'm going to be cutting along there first of all. Got to be really careful to keep it nice and straight and parallel. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of straight. I mean, it doesn't matter too much because it's all going to be veneered anyway, but it's just to make my life a little bit easier fitting the new piece in if it's as straight as possible. All right. Okay, so through the top one, now I'm going to cut where it joins here. Same thing. I know you can't really see too well what I'm doing, but I think you get the idea. Literally just cutting that section out. Almost there. Okay. Right. That seems to be a pretty decent cut. Oh, you can't see now. Okay. So, I did say that originally I was just going to, you know, rebuild these pieces that came out, but you know, first of all, this side you can see there's pieces missing across the middle there, and even worse this side, you know, there's chunks of it missing, and the other side was worse still. So what's the best angle to do that for you? About like that. So that's that piece, and then there's all these pieces from the other side, and all of that. So, you know, you can see there's a few chunks there, and then there's like all these tiny little pieces. I mean, you know, to try to piece that back together would have been A, virtually impossible, and B, not strong enough, and C, pointless. You know, why try to piece all this together when I can just, you know, do what I did last time, cut that section out and rebuild it. But you know, these ones I did last time, you can see that they're just, you know, straight edged butt joints, no good. And that's why it wasn't strong enough. And you know, you can see just what a jigsaw we had here. You know, these chunks are all well and good, but you've got pieces here that are, you know, tiny little fragments. To try and piece all that back together would have been, like I said, impossible and pointless. So this is what I'm doing. So I you know, glued one side together, put the piece in here, and now I've cut this side out, and I'm going to put the new piece in there. So let me just get rid of this lot. I'll keep this as a souvenir of just how bad my repair was the last time. And you know, I knew that it wasn't going to be strong, but I thought it'll be okay. Well, I was wrong. Right, so let me just go and get a piece of wood. Where did I put that? Oh, there it is. I had it there already. So I've got this piece of wood which I'm going to be putting in. Now this is the same wood that I was using when I made my electric guitar and bass guitar. So I had some solid wood that, you know, I cut those shapes out of, and this is an offcut from that wood. So there are a couple of good things about this wood. First of all, it's really strong. You know, when it's heavy and it's strong. So I know that this is going to be more than strong enough to do this job. And the other thing is, I'm not sure how well you'll see that, but the grain matches really well. It's a really good match with the grain. Looks as though it's from the same piece of wood, really. It's not, but it looks really close. So obviously this piece I've got to go in here. It's oversized, but it needs to be, you know, bigger or longer this way because of the overlap that I'm doing. So it's going to overlap this piece here and this piece here. And it's also slightly wider. And as far as the thickness, that's probably more or less what I need. So first thing I'm going to do is measure the distance between here and here at the back and at the front. Get a good measurement of what that is. So this is the back, and we're looking at 45 and a half mil, 45 and a half mil. And the front is exactly the same, 40, let me just double check that. Yeah, 45 and a half mil, 45 and a half mil. So it's exactly the same. And that's pretty good. Right, so 45 and a half mil. Let me just write that down so I don't forget. Okay, 45.5 millimeter. And the length of this piece of wood is 63 and a half. Is that right? Let me just check it there. Hold on. 63 and a half. So 63.5. So if I take, let me just get a calculator, it's quicker. Right, so the length of the piece of wood is 63.5 mil. The length of this gap in here is 45.5 mil. So you probably already worked it out, but I'm just going to do it anyway. Okay, 63.5 minus 45.5 equals 18. So this is 18 mil longer than the gap. So I want it in the middle of that. So if it's 18 mil, I want 9 mil at either end. So let me just, I get a fine pencil. So first of all, I'm going to measure 9 millimeters in from each end. Okay, so that's 9. And nine. Okay. Same the other side. 9 and make sure it's absolutely spot on. 9. Okay, now if I measure the distance between those marks, I've done that one wrong, hold on. I did that 14, not 9. Okay. So if I now measure the distance between those marks, it should be 45.5. So I'll just check that before I draw the line. So we've got, hold on, we've got, now see that's gone over. Oh no, that's right. What did I say? 45.5, 45.5, yeah, that one's right. And this side is 45.5, who'd have thought it? Right, so I'm now going to draw a line across those so that now that I know that they're accurate. Let me just check that again. Yeah, that looks good. Right, I'll just double check those measurements again. It should be 45.5 and that one, wait a minute, 45.5, 45.5, okay. So I've got the right measurement there. So those lines now line up with that gap there. Okay. So what I need to do to get that to go in there, I need to first of all cut across these lines down the depth of this part, which I'll measure in a moment. So I need to get to the thickness or the depth of that, cut these down to that depth, and then measure the contour there and draw a line there, the top and the bottom, so that I get the right contour. And then what I tend to do first of all is I cut down here both sides, and then from the ends I cut just straight down, so we've got basically an L shape cut out both ends, and then I start to shape it. So that's the first part I'm going to do, is measure the depth here. So we've got, let me see, what's that, 5, 6, 7, that's about 8.5 mil. Is it the same the other side? It does vary a bit. Yeah, so we're looking at about 8.5 mil depth. I'll just have a look at the other side as well, the other end if you prefer. So this one's bigger. Yeah, we got 10 mil there. And then 8.5 mil there. Okay, so it's a little bit inconsistent, and I don't know how well you'll see that. Let me just see if I can show you that. Where are we? Yeah, so this one in particular, it's a little bit uneven. It's narrower here and wider there. So I need to have a little think about that, whether I want, you know, to do it short and then contour this part, or do it long, or wide if you prefer, and contour this block of wood. This end or side is kind of the same. It's a little bit uneven for width. But yeah, so this part is a little bit tricky, you know, getting the initial shape to get that to fit in. But like I said, what I need to do first of all is just cut across these lines, go down the depth of that, which I'm going to go initially 8.5 mil deep, and then cut from the end down that way as well. And in fact, I'll probably put a little bit of a taper in it. Actually, I'll draw the contour on there first. I'll put it behind there and draw the contour onto this part and also to this part here. So I'm going to do that off camera because it's quite fiddly. I need to concentrate on what I'm doing. There's not really much to see. It's just me. Oh my God, the extreme close up. It's just me measuring, marking, and cutting. So I'll do that part off camera, and then once I've got it, you know, ballpark shape, I'll start another video and show you how, you know, I get the finalized shape and get it all detailed and nicely fitting in. But that's the initial stage, you know, basically cut this section out, and then with a block of wood start to measure the distance to get it to fit in, make some initial cuts to get it started, which is, you know, pretty straightforward. Like I said, it's cut down here, and down here, and down here, just to cut like an L-shaped chunk out of each end to get me started. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do off camera, and then part 2 will be getting the shape and the contour exactly right, that's one of the most time-consuming parts of it. It's quite tricky to do because of the, you know, the shape of this, the angles, the contours, the curves. It's pretty tricky, but it needs to be done right so that the repair is tidy and strong. Okay, so that will be coming in part 2. In the meantime, please look after yourselves, look after each other. We will see you soon. Peace out.